Second chapter, Vyasadeva's despondency and how he became inspired to compile Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1. Suta Goswami said, "This Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which I am about to narrate, is the literary incarnation of God and was compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, who is also an incarnation of Godhead." Vyasadeva delivered Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to his son Sukadeva after having extracted the cream of all Vedic literatures and histories. In turn, Sukadeva Goswami first spoke Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to the great Emperor Parikshit, who sat down on the shore of the Ganga awaiting his death, surrounded by great sages. This Bhagavad Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna for his own abode. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali will get light from this wonderful literature. I was present when Sukadeva Goswami first narrated Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and I heard it with rapt attention. By the mercy of my spiritual master, I was able to assimilate the full comprehension of this transcendental literature. Now I shall try to make you hear the very same thing I had heard and realized. Saunak Rishi said, "O Suta Goswami, we are very eager to know the history of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. How and when did Srila Vyasadeva get the inspiration for this great work, and for what reason was it compiled?" Sukadeva Goswami was a fully self-realized soul. Although he wondered about appearing like a madman, how did the citizens of Hastinapura receive him, and how did King Parikshit happen to meet him, making it possible for Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to be recited for the first time? Maharaj Parikshit was a first-class devotee of the Lord, and he was the emperor of the entire world. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the shore of the Ganga and fast until death? He was full of youth and strength, and his enemies used to come and bow down at his feet and surrender their wealth unto him for their own benefit. Why did he want to give up everything, including his very life? Great souls do not live for any selfish interest. Even if Maharaj Parikshit had no worldly attachment, how could he give up his body, which was the shelter for all others? Sukadeva Goswami said, "This present cycle of yugas is the 28th in the rule of Vaivasvata Manu. During each day of Lord Brahma, when this particular cycle of the 4 yugas occurs, the second yuga, Dwapara, changes place with the third yuga, Treta. This adjustment occurs due to the appearance of Lord Krishna, and in the third Sandhya of that Dwapara yuga, Srila Vyasadeva was born as the son of Satyavati and the great sage Parasara. Vyasadeva's ashrama was situated at Samyaprasha near Vadrikashrama in the Himalayas. One day, after bathing in the river Saraswati at sunrise, Srila Vyasadeva sat down on the shore to meditate. Being a liberated soul, Vyasa could foresee the anomalies of the upcoming age of Kali, wherein everything deteriorates. He could understand that the faithless persons would become very dull-headed and restless due to the lack of goodness, and so he began to think deeply about what could be done for their welfare. Srila Vyasadeva knew that the process of sacrifice outlined in the Vedas is the correct means for purifying man's occupations, and so to simplify the whole method, he divided the one Veda into 4. In addition, he compiled historical narrations called Puranas, and these were considered to be the 5th Veda. Vyasadeva entrusted the Rig Veda to Paila Rishi, the Shama Veda to Jaimini, the Yajur Veda to Vaishampayana, Vaishampayana, the Atharva Veda to Angira, and the Puranas to Romaharshana, the father of Shuta Goswami. These disciples of Srila Vyasadeva in turn passed on the knowledge to their students, and thus the various branches of Vedic knowledge and their disciplic successions came into being. Then, for the less intelligent classes of human beings, Vyasadeva entrusted the Rig Veda to Paila Rishi, the Samaveda to Jaimini, the Yajur Veda to Vaishampayana, the Atharva Veda to Angira, and the Puranas to Romharshana, the father of Sutta Goswami. These disciples of Srila Vyasadeva in turn passed on the knowledge to their students, and thus the various branches of Vedic knowledge and their disciplic successions come into being. Then, for the less intelligent classes of human beings, omen, laborers, and the fallen descendants of the higher orders, Srila Vyasadeva compiled the great historical narration, Mahabharata. But, in spite of having worked tirelessly for the welfare of all classes of people, Srila Vyasadeva felt dissatisfied at heart. While thinking over the matter very deeply, he considered, I have undergone all kinds of strict disciplinary vows and have unpretentiously worshipped the Vedas, the spiritual master, and the altar of sacrifice. I have perfectly followed all regulative injunctions and have thoroughly expounded the principles of religion by presenting the Mahabharata. Yet, despite all these accomplishments, I feel incomplete. Perhaps it is because I did not specifically preach the value of unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord, for this is the only means of satisfying one's self and the Lord as well. Just as Vyasa was regretting his defects in this way, his spiritual master Narad Muni came to him. Srila Vyasadeva immediately got up to respectfully worship Narada, and after doing so, he seated him comfortably. Narad Muni then addressed Vyasa, and because he knew all about his disciple's defect, he was smiling mildly. Narada said, My dear son of Parasara, have you become satisfied by encouraging others to identify the body and mind with the self? You have no doubt personally attained perfect self-realization. You have no doubt personally attained perfect self-realization, and your great work Mahabharata is a wonderful exposition of all kinds of Vedic principles. In addition, the Vedanta Sutra you have compiled was fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahman. Considering all this, why should you feel dissatisfied at heart? Srila Vyasadeva replied, O Narada, what you have said is perfectly correct. In spite of my great achievements, I am not satisfied. You possess unlimited knowledge, and so I beg you to reveal to me the cause of my unhappiness. Like the sun, you can travel anywhere within the three worlds, and like the air, you can penetrate into the internal regions of all living beings. Thus, you are practically on a level with the Supreme Soul. Please ascertain my deficiency and advise me for my benefit. Narada frankly explained, You have not properly broadcast the sublime, transcendental glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any philosophy that does not satisfy the Almighty Lord must be considered worthless. You have very broadly described the topics of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, but you have not properly delineated the glories of the Supreme Lord and the practice of bhakti yoga, pure devotional service. Those words that do not glorify the Lord are like a place of pilgrimage for cowards. Those words that do not glorify the Lord are like a place of pilgrimage for crows. Those words that do not glorify the Lord are like a place of pilgrimage for crows. On the other hand, even imperfectly composed literature that is full of descriptions of the Lord's name, fame, forms, and pastimes is relished by great purified souls. Even so called spiritual knowledge that is devoid of a personal conception of God is unsatisfying. And so, what to speak of fruitive activities which are by nature miserable and temporary? By having described these things with a separatist vision without relation to the Supreme Lord, you have greatly misled the people in general. By giving them concessions for both earthly and heavenly sense enjoyment, you have encouraged them in the name of religion to aggravate their material disease. This has created a great stumbling block on the path of progressive spiritual life, and thus your work must be condemned. You should have led the masses of people to the path of pure devotional service, for one who takes to such transcendental engagement is never the loser, whereas non-devotees cannot gain anything tangible. Even if a neophyte devotee somehow falls down, nothing is lost, and the transcendental taste he has gained will bring him back to spiritual life at a future date so that he can continue where he had left off. My dear Vyasa, you should meditate upon the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Then you should compile a special literature that will describe them in great detail so that people in general may become liberated from material bondage simply by hearing it. Great authorities have correctly ascertained that the culmination of the advancement of knowledge, study of the Vedas, performance of sacrifice, and giving in charity is the engagement in chanting and hearing of the transcendental descriptions of the Supreme Lord. Just to illustrate the wonderful result achieved by imbibing an atmosphere surged with pure devotional service, I will now relate to you my life history.